I just finished my third speech in level 1 of Pathways, and in just a few seconds, you're going to see that full speech that I delivered to my local Toastmasters club. But before that, if you were working on level 1 speech 3, which is all about vocal variety and body language, and you're in the planning stage, check out this video I recently did because I talk about what you need to think about in preparing for this speech. Now I'm going to show you this speech in its full entirety, and then later I'm going to comment on how I did. How would you react if you saw your favorite celebrity or musician in real life, face to face? Would you freak out, run over and ask them for their autograph? Or would you play it cool and give them the respect of their privacy? 20 years ago, I discovered exactly how I would react in this situation. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters here in person, welcome guests, and Moya on Zoom. I was walking through Chinook Center parking lot in Calgary, and that's when I saw him. "George! George!" I yelled. "Can I get a photo of you with my truck?" It's a random request, I know, but what you need to know is that in 2005, I had two loves in my life. The first was the band Alexisonfire. There was something about the screaming, angst-filled vocals of George Pettit combined with the angelic voice of Dallas Green that made for musical perfection. My second love was my 2000 Nissan Frontier. It was the first vehicle I ever owned, and I don't know exactly what was running through my mind other than the fact if I could get these two things in one photo, that would be pretty special. George looked at me with a quizzical, flabbergasted look in his eye, but he obliged. He walked over to the Nissan, he threw his foot on the back bumper, and struck a pose. I happened to have a camera with me. I took the photo, and I said, "Thanks, George. I love your band. You guys are awesome." "Thanks, man," George said, and he walked away. I couldn't believe it. I got into my truck, I pulled out my flip phone, and with trembling fingers, I texted one of my best friends who is a massive Alexisonfire fan as well, telling him about the encounter. And that's when I heard a knock on my window. It was George. "Hey, George. Hey, man, this is a random question, but could you give us a ride?" "Yes, George, yes, I can." George hopped in the front seat. Wade McNeil, the guitarist, hopped in the back along with another girl who I didn't recognize. And they explained that they were looking for Moxie's, and they asked me if I knew how to get there. And I said, yes, I did, even though I didn't. I didn't have a clue where Moxie's was. But when you have an opportunity to drive your favorite band somewhere, you don't ask questions, you just do it. So I put the vehicle in reverse, and I asked them what they were doing in Calgary. You see, Dallas Green had just started his own side project called City in Color, and he was touring across the country playing shows. And the band wanted to support him. They weren't playing shows, but they were doing mall autograph tours, and that's why they were at Chinook Center. As they were explaining this to me and describing what was going to happen later, crash! I backed into a parked car. "Hey, man, I think you just hit that car." "I think you're right, George." I got out of the vehicle to inspect the damage, and there was, in fact, a dent. And at this point, I was debating what I should do because I'm not proud to admit it, but as a first-year college student, I might not have always done the right thing in this situation. I didn't have a lot of extra money to pay for car damages, but my idols were sitting in that vehicle, so I had to play this situation a little differently. So I went to the vehicle, I pulled out a piece of paper and a pen, and I wrote a note. George looked at me approvingly. "You're doing the right thing, man." "Thanks, George." Even still, I debated writing a fake phone number, but I thought I should probably put my real phone number. I tucked the note into the windshield, got back into the vehicle. Now, the girl who was sitting in the back seat was on a phone call, and I could overhear her saying, "Oh, what's that? Moxie's is in Chinook Center? Excuse me, it turns out Moxie's is in the mall. Where were you driving us?" Oh yeah, I know. I was just going to drive you to a closer part in the mall. Thanks, I think we can get out here. The lady and Wade McNeil, the guitarist, got out of the back, and George got out without, just before he left, he gave me one last look and said, "Thanks, man." "No problem, George," I said. I couldn't believe it. It was such an incredible experience. I once again pulled out my flip phone to call my friend who I was texting earlier, and I told him about the whole encounter, about the photo, about backing into the car, about the great conversation I was having with George. And as I was driving down McLeod Trail, I received a call on the other line. "Hello? Hi, is this Wade?" "Yes, who's this?" "Hey Wade, it's Heather. I was just sat in the back seat of your vehicle and I left a really important clipboard back there. I'm hanging out with the band at Moxie's. Would it be cool if you came back to Chinook Center and dropped off that clipboard? You could also meet the rest of the band." "Yes, Heather. Yes, I can do that. Quick question. How do you know my phone number?" "Well, I just went back to that car you smashed into and got it from the note." Makes sense. I went back to Chinook Center to Moxie's, delivering the clipboard. I was a hero. I got to meet the rest of the band, Dallas and everyone. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. Which brings us back to the question. If you see your favorite celebrity or musician in person, what do you do? Part of you might want to play it cool and give them the respect of their privacy. But I would highly advise against that because based on my own experience, what could be best is yelling obnoxiously and giving some sort of random request. You never know what it could lead to. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that speech. Overall, I was really happy with how it went. It's a funny story of the encounter I had 20 years ago. Humor is always a good thing to have in speeches, and that was one thing I thought that was delivered pretty well, was humor through that speech. That's a tip for all of you. Utilizing humor, especially getting the audience to laugh early, is going to give you a major boost of confidence in giving your speech. But keeping in mind that this speech is all about vocal variety and body language, what I liked about this particular story is that there was a lot of opportunity for that. Everything from the knock on the window to the smash to rolling down the old school truck window. There was a lot of opportunities for body language. And then with vocal variety, me yelling, "George, George," across the parking lot. These are little aspects that if you can inject in your speech, they're going to capture and recapture the audience's attention. And this is something I mentioned in the previous video when preparing for this speech, is ensure that you utilize a story, especially a story that you've told before, because they often have some sort of body language element to it, especially if it was a crazy situation or a funny encounter. So think about your stories, your best stories that you would tell family members or friends. And when you're planning to do this speech, perhaps look at some of those. Now, in terms of how I did with delivery and the feedback, the evaluator gave me a lot of positive feedback on this particular speech. He said that it was engaging, that I did great with body language and vocal variety, so I appreciated getting that. He didn't have any gifts for me. Being my own worst critic, watching back, there was a couple times where I stumbled over my words a little bit. However, it wasn't too bad. I was able to recover in most situations. Within our club, we have these little evaluation forms that each member fills out, and the feedback I received was largely positive, but there were a few pieces of constructive criticism, which I really appreciate because I can improve my future speeches. One was to have a few more strategic pauses and really engage the audience. Another was that I was moving around a little bit, and that might have taken myself out of the camera frame that we have for our Zoom audience. And this is important to always be mindful of your digital audience as well and ensure that they feel a part of it. Watching this back, I realized I didn't look at the web camera very often, so I wasn't making eye contact with the Zoom audience. So that was another area I could have improved. But what did you think about this particular speech? Did you enjoy it? What could I have done better? Like I say, I always appreciate those gifts in Toastmasters. Those who have been following along know that I am taking on the motivational strategies path. I will be shooting a video in preparation for each speech and recording every speech so you can follow along on my journey. And if that sounds like something that could be beneficial to you, the best way to connect is subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications so you don't miss any of those videos. If you have made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I truly appreciate it. And again, the video popping up on your screen right now, this is the one that's going to help you prepare for Level 1 Speech 3. And I talk about what to focus on when it comes to body language and vocal variety. Wishing you the best of luck.